Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Divya.
Hi. Sorry, guys, there was a miscommunication between me and admin team. It took a time to launch the meeting. So, usually I won't take classes on Saturdays, right? So, that is the reason. All right, let me share my screen. So, yesterday we finished joints concept, right? I hope everything is clear for you. If you get some time, please practice joints concept, and I gave you some examples also, right? Please try to solve those, and we will discuss about all the examples on Monday, as I said. But if you get time, try to solve that questions before attending Monday's class, okay? So that you can able to understand whether you can able to solve them or not, right? So today we are going to start a new concept called as group by clause, okay? So till now we discussed some clauses, right? Like where clause is done. Next we are done with distinct clause, limit clause. I guess that's it, right? We discuss is did we cover any more clauses before joint? That's it. A where clause, distinct clause. Distinct clause is used to fetch the unique data, right? Where clause is used to filter the data. Limit clause is used to, limit the records, to display the records. Whatever inside limit we will display, that many records only uh, we can able to see in the output, correct? So in the same way, next we have clauses like group by clause and having clause, which we are going to discuss today, which is again very important. Usually we will work with group by clauses and having clauses along with the joins. As joins concept is important, these are all in, I can say they all are interlinked with each other. Along with the joins concept only, we will use group by clause and having clause. Okay, so group by clause in the sense, first, just let me suppose there are 50 employees in a company, and all of them will have some different ages, right? So if we ask to, about to tell, I mean, if we ask about the age of 50 persons, what they will do, they will tell their age individually, correct? If I ask what is your age, see, in our class we have some four members today. If I ask what is your age separately, you will give me the answers individually. But instead of that, if I ask, if I say that in that, if suppose in that 50 people, I mean 50 employees, I have like 30 males and 20 females. Okay, then if I ask about, to tell me like the what is the age, if I ask about, if don't, yeah, sorry, if I, instead of asking them individually, if I ask the cumulative data, they if I ask like, 30 males and 20 females are there, what is their age, in the sense we cannot answer individually, right? We need to tell some cumulative age, like maybe average age of male, average age of female, or else we need to we can say the, youngest age of male, like that, right? Youngest age of female. Whenever we are talking about individual data, we can give answers individually. Whenever we are talking about a group of data, we cannot give individual answers. We need to give some cumulative data only, correct? So that is something we can call it as grouping of data. Okay, and we use group by clauses for such data, for such group of data. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. So whenever we talk about group of data and on what basis grouping has to be done, it will be decided depending on the data, depending on the data which we are working. We will decide at that time, maybe based on as I uh, as I said you the example, maybe based on gender, maybe based on score, maybe based on location, like that. Based on our data, we will understand, or obviously in real time what it happens, based on our clients data, based on their requirement, we will understand how they want to display the data, or how they want to what we need to fetch the data, right? According to that questions or requirement, we can understand based on which column or based on which situation we need to group the data. Okay, so yeah, so based on the data only, we will group, we can understand that based on which column we are grouping the data. Okay, and mostly we will use group by clause with the along with the aggregate functions. Okay, we have some aggregate functions. We already discussed about all the functions of SQL. At that time we saw like numeric functions, character functions, like that, right? So basically we will have something called as aggregate functions. Most of you might already know about this.
Ma'am,
What
that
are
sum, min, max, mod,
yes, correct. What are all the aggregate functions in the sense sum, min, max, count,
average,
average.
mod.
That's it. So mostly these are all called as aggregate functions, but mostly 90% of the times or 99% of the times we will use group by clause along with the aggregate functions. Okay. So let me repeat what I just said. We have something called as group by clause. We will use group by clause whenever we need to analyze about the group of data, and based on what column we will group the data, it will again depends upon the data which we are working, and depend upon the requirement, or depend upon what we are fetching. Basically, if I can talk here, depending upon my question, we can understand which column we are using to group the data, right? As I said, as I took one example, if I say I want to know who is the youngest of our company, so and if I say we have 30 males and 30 male and 20 female, I can cumulate the data, or I can perform the group by clause on the data based on the gender, right? And as I said, we will use aggregate functions along with the group by clause. Here what we are doing, I'm grouping the data based on the gender, and I'm using aggregate function that a minimum of the age, right? So as I need to find the youngest age of my employees, right, like that it will be. Let's see some examples, then you can understand easily. Okay, so let me first write the definition here. Group by clause is used with aggregate function. Aggregate functions like min, max, sum, count, a, average. Mostly we will use these 5 aggregate functions. Okay, so group by clause is used with aggregate functions to summarize the data. Okay, So this is the definition. What is group by clause in the sense? Basically, group by clause is used to group the data. It is used with the, I can also write it as it is used to group the data. Used with aggregate functions like min, max, sum, count, average to summarize the data. Okay, let's see one example. Let's solve some queries. Then you can understand clearly. Again, I summarized it. I can also say based on specific column. Okay, this is the definition. Group by clause is used to group the data and used with aggregate functions to summarize the data, or else you can even skip this line. Simply you can say like used with aggregate functions to summarize the data based on specific column. Okay, so let's use Maven movies only. We have payment table and customer table. Maybe in payment table we have customer IDs, right? So first we will use without joins. First we will try to solve one simple question. Let me display first payment table. Select star from payment. Oh, sorry. So basically I have payment ID, customer ID, staff ID, and remaining things like amount. Okay, so here we have amount. Okay, basically if I talk about customers, the amount spent by each customer. Okay, so in payment table I have one column called as staff ID and I have one column called as amount. In this particular data in staff ID I can say we have only two staff IDs, 1 and 2. In our complete data we have staff IDs 1 and 2. That means we have two staffs here to maintain all these DVDs. Basically this is a DVD rental store, right? Whenever we are talking about the rental and payment columns here. So to maintain all these DVDs, we have two staffs and the staff ID is 1 and 2. Okay, and they will collect the payment from the customers here in this data. What they will do, basically if we talk about Netflix, what we will do, your subscribers or users will be the customer. They will make some payment to watch the OTT content, correct? Like that, if it is physically stored, customers will make some payment to rent the DVD, correct? So we have staffs 1 and 2 here. So let me write a question that fetch the total amount, fetch the total amount collected by staff ID. I said I have two staffs here. Okay, staff ID 1 and staff ID 2. Staff ID 1 collected some amount from the customer, staff ID 2 collected some amount from the customer. I'm not talking individually here, I'm talking according to the staff ID collection, according to the person staff IDs here, how much he collected the amount from the customers particularly. I want that data. Did you got my point? Did you understand the question here? Total amount collected by staff ID.
Basically, group by staff ID, ma'am, right? Sum
Yes,
of
yes,
amount group
yes,
by staff ID.
yes, yes. Everyone, first of all, did you understood the question? Okay, let's see. So select what I'm saying. I want to understand about the total amount. Total in the sense, obviously we will use, as I said, first of all, I'm asking, I'm asking to you to group the data based on the staff ID. As we have staff ID 1 and staff ID 2, I want to know staff ID 1 collected how much of data, staff ID 2 collected how much of data. So we will use staff ID in the group by clause. Again, as I said, we mostly uses aggregate functions whenever we are using group by clause. So here in the question also we need to find the total amount. Total amount in the sense we need to use the sum aggregate function, correct? Sum of amount, correct? So I'll say select sum of amount from payment table. The table name is payment, right? So sum of amount from payment. Here what is my requirement? I need to find the total amount collected by staff ID. So I will simply write it as group by staff ID. Correct? I'm grouping the data based on the staff ID. And I want to know what is the total amount collected by staff ID. Right? Here if you see the question, you can understand we need to write this. If we understand the concept here, we will write generally the syntax like this. But whenever we use this group by clause, there is one rule that whatever column names, I will write it as whatever column names we use inside group by clause, we should use that column names in select command. So what it means, whatever column names we use inside group by clause. Here I'm using staff ID in group by clause. That column name I should use, definitely I should use that column name inside the select command, or else it will throw me an error. This is one of the rule. I don't know why they got this rule. I don't know the reason behind this, but this is one of the rule. Definitely, whenever we use this group by clause, on based on which column we are grouping the data, that column name we need to mention in the select command. Basically, we need to display this one also, right? Because if we understand, if we try to imagine logically, in the end of the day, output how we need output like each staff ID, how much amount they collected. Correct. So if I have the staff ID column only, I can see staff ID 1 collected this much amount, staff ID 2 collected this much amount, right? That is the reason we will use the group by column name inside the select command. Okay, let me just execute this. You can see here. This is the reason we used. If I don't use staff ID here, directly uh, it will throw the error, but the result will be like this. We cannot understand the data, right? That's the reason we need to include staff ID also. Here, as I said, we have two staff IDs. Staff ID 1 collected this much of amount, 2 collected this much of amount. Here again, I can use Elias name as total, right? Clear? Guys, if you have any doubts, you can ask me. Is that clear?
So, ma'am, basically it is adding, like for example, I'm having 5 staff IDs of one. So basically it is adding all the staff IDs of one and giving me the result, right?
Right, that's it, that's it. Basically in group by, that's what we will do, right? We are talking about the group of data instead of individual data. If I'm talking about the complete class performance of the complete class, I won't ask marks for individual students. I will maybe I will do average overall, and I will just talk about the collective data, right? Like that. Whenever we are talking about the groups of data, obviously to achieve our task, we need to use the aggregate functions. Because whenever we are talking about the a group of people, either we will try to understand about either the total amount or the maximum amount, like that only, no? So that's the reason we will use aggregate and group by together. Yes, Pritesh, do you have any questions?
Yes, ma'am, I have one question.
Yes, please.
Actually, ma'am, I want to ask in group by, we will generally use this aggregate functions like sum, min, and average,
Correct.
and always. And also, group by will not be used with like operators. Like we, if we
Where,
write group,
yes, yes.
okay,
Operators instance, basically I'm going to tell the next concept with that one only. See here what we are doing. We are talking about the group of data. So here in this data, if we want to, add any conditions, basically normally without using group by data, I mean group by clause, till now what we did, if we are trying to give any conditions, we used where clause, right? Inside the where clause only, we will write some conditions so that according to it, it will filter the data, correct?
yes, ma'am.
But whereas in group by, what it happens, we are talking about the group of data. It's not like row level data. We are talking collective, we are talking about some collective data. And if we want to give some conditions here, we cannot use where clause inside group by. We need to use having clause. The next concept is that it, so basically to apply the any conditions to filter the data inside the group by, we will use having clause,
Okay.
not where clause. That is what you are about to ask, right? We don't use operators and where.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So first of all, what is group by clause? Did you understood? Let's solve some more examples. But everyone, did you got my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Madam, repeat once again, madam.
Okay, no problem. I'll repeat. See, group by clause in the sense, till now what we did, we just directly we fetch the data, we used select clause, or if we want to filter the data, we used some conditions. We basically dealt with row level data only till now, right? Now here what we are doing, we are talking about group of data, not individual data. We are not talking about individual rows of the data. Okay, we are talking about the group by data, I mean a group of data. Okay. So as I said in the definition, group by, as I took one example here, I said we have 50, suppose if I have 50 members in one employee, in that suppose 20 are male and 30 are female. In the sense, if we want to talk about that group of data, okay, we will, what we will do, we will use, first we will group that data and we will try to understand the data from that group. Okay, here also basically what we are doing, in the sense we are grouping the data. Whenever we are talking about individual data, what we will do, we saw till yesterday. Okay, but if we talk about any group of data, we will use group by clause here. Okay, and along with the group by clause, we will use aggregate functions. We have this we can call these functions as aggregate functions, that is minimum, maximum, sum, count, average. Okay, these are all called as aggregate functions. Whenever we use group by clause, we will use aggregate functions along with the group by clause so that we can summarize the data. Okay, and because if you see, if whatever examples I took, in if as I said in that the previous example, if I ask what is the average age of male in our company, average age of male in the company, you can observe my question. Average age of male in the company, in the sense what I'm doing, I'm talking about males of the company, that is males, in the sense we are talking about some group of the data, right? At that time, we won't tell individual ages. I won't tell that, this person age is this one, that person age is that one. We will talk about the complete group of males. Suppose we have 20 males, I will talk about that 20 males collectively. And for that group of data, if I want to understand the average, in the sense here average is again an aggregate function. Whenever we try to understand about the group of data, by default we will use all these aggregations. Okay, so here what I will do, whenever I want to fetch this data, I will use group by clause. In group by clause, we will, we basically on any specific column, we will group the data. Here on gender column, I will group the data. And as I want to understand about the average, I will use the average aggregate function. Then we can able to give the answer for this question. Okay, if I talk about this example, here my question is, fetch the total amount collected by staff ID. Okay, I have some payment table in Maven Movies data. Here I have amount column and I have staff ID column. Basically, the data here is in the sense, if we talk about, if this data is about a DVD rental store, okay, we have some column called as amount, and each customer will come to this store and they will take some DVDs for rent. They will make payment in the in that store, and they will took the DVDs, right? So we have two staffs here to maintain all the things in the store. So staff ID 1 and staff ID 2, okay, two staffs are there. So they only will maintain the store, and they only will take the payments from the customers. Now my question is, I want to understand total amount collected by staff ID. Means for staff ID 1, how much amount he collected. That means how many DVDs did he sell? Okay, and staff ID 2, how many DVDs did he sell? Okay, how we can understand here? It's not about the count of DVDs. Here I'm talking about the payment they collected from the customers. Okay, so basically I'm talking about the staff ID here. I don't want individual data. I'm grouping the data based on the staff ID. I want to know, suppose here we have only two staffs. If I have 10 staffs, I want to know that collective data, right? So I'm grouping inside way, basically in the select clause, in the select command, we will use group by. Okay, first we need to write select what is our requirement. Like I want to find total amount. To understand the total amount, I will use a sum function. We have some some aggregate functions. These aggregate functions, first of all, let me tell you, minimum in the sense, to understand the minimum value, we will use minimum function. To understand the maximum value, we will use maximum function. To display the total amount, okay, total amount, we will use sum function. And to display the count, right, count of the rows, I can say, like that, we will use count function. And obviously, to understand the average, we will use average function. So here I'm talking about the total amount. So I need total amount in the sense, I need to add each and every row, then I can get the total, right? So basically sum is the function. So here, as I asked total amount, we will use sum of amount, this function in the select command. Okay, so that's the reason I wrote select sum of amount. I need to write from table name, right? Okay, then I asked based on the staff ID. So based on that staff ID, I'm asking, right? So that's the reason, based on the staff ID column, I need to use the group by clause. I will use group by staff ID.
Okay.
I'm grouping the complete data based on this staff ID. Okay, and one more thing, as we have one rule that whenever we use a group by clause, what column we are using in the group by clause, that column name we need to use in the select command. Staff here ID. Okay, that's the reason I just copied this and pasted it here.
Okay.
This is our output. See, in our output also, we can understand staff ID 1 collected this much of amount, staff ID 2 collected this much of amount. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So everyone, is that clear? See, let's solve one more example. For the same table, payment item, fetch the, here I wrote total amount collected by staff ID. How many payments collected by staff ID? Better I will write each staff ID, then you can understand easily. I'm saying how many payments were collected by each staff ID. Each staff ID in the sense, again, I want staff ID 1 collected how many payments and staff ID 2 collected how many payments. Here I'm talking about how many. Previously I talked about total amount. So which function I need to use here?
Count.
Count. Perfect. And based on what column I need to group the data?
Staff ID only.
Staff ID only, right? So like this, according to the question, we need to understand. With some practice, you can get it. Okay, no problem. So how many payments? How many in the sense as first, whenever we see the questions, we need to just remind all the aggregate functions over there. How many in the sense? Obviously, we use count function here. Count of, I can say, if you remember, whenever I discussed about the count function in numeric, I mean, in the functions concept, numeric functions concept, I said whenever we are using the count function, either we can use any column name or else we can use directly asterisk, right? Because whenever we are counting, all the columns we will have the same data only, right? If I want to count this table, suppose just forget about the complete table, just imagine whatever you can see like 11 rows. Suppose I have this much of data. If I want to count this, suppose if I use rental ID also, I will have 11 rows only. If I use payment ID also 11 rows only. If I use asterisk also, we will count that many rows only, right? So we can use whenever we are using count, either we can use any of the column name or directly simply we can use asterisk over there. The result will be same, correct? This is we already discussed about this in whenever we are discussing functions concept. So here I'm saying how many payments were collected by each staff ID. That is select count star from payment table. Okay. I need to write group by staff ID, right? Again, what I need to do, I need to copy this column name and I need to write in the select command, correct? If I want, I can give any alias name here. So I can give anything. I can give like number of payments. Like this, I can give anything, right? Okay, select count star. First, just don't, if you became very, you know, pro in writing group by clauses, then only write the column name first, or else don't write this column name. Just try to write according to the question. After that, just copy and paste it here. Whenever you are trying to understand the query also, just forget about the staff ID here. Just first understand like how, the flow, how I wrote, try to understand like that only. Select count star from payment group by staff ID. Then whatever column I wrote, we will need to add, we need to use the column name here and we can give alias name for any of these functions. See, staff ID 1, number of payments, this much. 8057, staff ID 2, this much. Okay, clear? Is there any confusion or is that clear? And we can use multiple aggregations also in one select command. Like I can say directly, select like count star, like I can say sum, like that. I can use multiple. Let me write it as, if I talk about this one, I'm removing alias names for now. So here what I will do, I already wrote count star, right? Here even I can write sum of amount, as we have already amount column here. Okay. Previously for the same data, we tried to understand about the sum of amount, right? Now for the same data, we saw how we will do count function. So both the functions also together we can do. That is count star and sum of function. Like that, I can write even max of amount. Like that, min of amount, we can write multiple functions also at a time. Like this. This is count of the payment, sum of the amount, max of the amount, like that. Okay. I'm just telling this just for the understanding only. Basically depends upon the requirement, we will we will use the functions. Correct? Am I clear? Guys, can I understand it as S?
Yes.
Okay. So next we have something called as with roll up. Okay, we have something called as with roll up. We will use this with roll up along with the group by. With roll up is, we can understand it is a, we can call it as a modifier. Okay, this is not clause, this is a modifier. We will use this modifier along with the group by clause. So what is this, what is that in the sense? Used with group by clause. Okay, we will use a roll up with roll up along with the group by clause. Basically what it will do, it will give us the summarized value. It gives, I can say, overall total values. Let's see one example, then you can understand. So basically what it will do, it will just adds the complete data. It will do addition for the complete data and it will give the results. Okay, so suppose if we imagine like we have some data, okay, like this. If we perform in one addition to this, it is like, suppose if I have two rows here, if I am doing addition for this, my addition will be 3. Okay, if I have some other data here, I can even add this data, right? See, let's forget about this example. Let's see with the clauses, I mean syntax only, you can understand. Basically it will give the, you can, we can see if whenever we are talking about grand totals, we can see like uh, subtotals and grand totals, right, like that it will work. Let's see one example. Basically it adds the complete data and give the values. Okay, so for the same previous sum of total, I will use this example only. Sum of total, okay. I just wanted to show you the difference between these two. That's why I copied the same here. And if I use with rollup modifier to the same statement, how the result will be, I will show you. See, first it is just adding. In the first example, it is just adding. Whatever column we take, staff ID, each staff ID it is adding. Okay, but whenever we use with rollup, along with that, it will give the total of this two individual. Each staff ID's total also it will display. I can call it as this one as subtotal and the last one as grand total, right? Basically, based on which column we will group the data. Okay, that data it will display as we used previously, as we saw previously. But for that data, if we use with rollup, it will add the complete data and it will give the result. Okay,
Ma'am, roll-up means what?
that's what basically we will call with this. There is something called as with rollup. We can call it as a modifier in SQL. whenever we uses with rollup inside the group by clause, it modifies our results. It will basically adds the results. See here what we did in, as you see this example, we used group by staff ID. Each staff they collected, staff ID 1 collected 33,000 or something amount. Staff ID 2 collected 33 amount. If whenever I use with rollup, it will just add the both the data and it will give the total amount collected, you know, how much collection we got, we can understand by using with rollup.
But ma'am, here we are using sum function, right? Sum of amount.
Yeah, sum of amount only we will use. But see, if I use like this without using any with rollup, this will be my output. Each staff ID wise, whatever we are grouping by, that amount we will get. Okay. Suppose imagine I'm talking about any sales data. Okay. I'm talking about any superstore. Let's take any superstore like maybe Ratnadeep or anything. So we have some staff IDs. I want to know, how many staffs, sold how many products, something like that. Okay. So here also staff ID one, uh, you know, sold, he made this much of payment, 33,000. Staff ID 2 this much of amount. And if the owner of the company wants to know in, with this data how much total collection is done in that company. If he want to know, along with the staff ID, and he also want to know the complete total amount, total collection done in any particular day, like that. At that time we will use this with rollup, so that it won't do anything. It will perform the as it is query, as it is syntax, as it is done, as it is done previously, but at the end it will just adds everything and it will display. Okay. So basically
Please
what,
run this query, no? 40 and 42.
yeah, this is the result.
So basically, this is the addition of 1 plus 2, right?
Correct, that's what I'm trying to say. It is the addition of 1 plus 2.
Okay.
It will totally give you the complete amount. It will just make the sum and it will display the data. And if it is the concept of sum, whenever we are using sum of amount, it will add everything and it will show the grand total here at the end. Okay. If we are using max of something, what it will do, it cannot add, right? Let me give you that example also. Here it is showing the maximum values only, obviously. It will again display the same 11.9 only. It won't adds here. Whenever we are using sum only, it will add. Basically we will use this with the sum function only, not with max, minimum or count. Again, if we use also, it won't add. It will just display what is the maximum value, what is the minimum value, that's it, with rollup. Basically in real time we will use along with the sum function only, just to understand what is the total payment made by the complete company, in that business. If I want to know, for example, if we talk about any BPO or something, they will have some targets, correct? To to do to complete their work, they will so just imagine, like, to complete their work, they are having some targets. If I want to know, gender wise, like, today, males, did they finish the target, how much target did they done, females how much target did they done, it will show us, males data is this much, females data is this much. But along with that, if I want to know what is the total amount I got, that is what is the total, you know total amount I got in the company in that particular day, we will use roll up. At that time, it will just add both the columns, gender wise data and male wise data and female wise data, and it will give the sum, total amount, Basically, just remember one thing, we will use with rollup along with the sum only in real time. Whenever we use along with the sum, it will just add all the data and it will give the grand total at bottom, at the end. Okay, don't get confused. First, just try to understand up to here only. Okay, up to here only try to understand. After that, if you got clarity about this concept, try to understand. We have one modifier along with the group by clause we will use with rollup. Okay, whenever we are performing sum of amount, if we use with rollup, basically it what will do, it adds the complete data and gives the result. Okay, and without suppose unknowingly if we use the same with rollup with maximum of amount or any other functions, it won't add that data, it will just display what is the maximum amount, what is the minimum amount as it is. Okay, did you got my point?
Yes, ma'am, clear.
Okay, next. See, in maximum and minimum functions, if we use rollup, it won't add the data. It will show from overall data what is the maximum value and what is the minimum value. But whenever we use a with roll in some function, then only it will add and it will show the complete result at the end. Okay. So let's solve one more example. Now let's try to use joins here. So total amount paid by each customer. I want to fetch the data total amount paid by each customer. Okay, I have payment table. In my payment table, I have amount. I have customer ID here and I have customer data here. Okay. One second. So if I want to group this along with the customer names, I can use joins because we have customer names in the customer table only. But in payment table, we have customer ID. Let's see. Let me once. Without using joins, can we retrieve the data here? Let me check. Total amount, right? I can able to solve this question without using joins also, because we have already customer ID here. Okay, just to show you the how we will use joins, just imagine I'm just modifying this, total amount paid by each customer name. Just imagine like I want to know the customer names. Okay, I want to add the customer names only. Based on the customer names, I want to understand the total amount. Suppose if the question is like that, we cannot use this on only one table, right? We need to use joins for customer table also. Correct. Basically, instead of names, maybe the names can be same. We have the same name for two persons. Basically, we will use customer ID only. Just imagine, suppose I'm just doing this just to show you the joins in group by inside the joins. So let me just, okay, did you got my point? I'm just writing this question like this just to show you the joins concept here. So if I want to perform join between customer table and payment table, and I want to show the sum of amount, how we will do? Select sum of amount, okay, from payment, right, as P, in a join
Custom
as, sorry, in a join
customer SC
customer as a C on
on P
P
dot
dot
customer ID is equal to C dot customer ID.
C dot customer ID.
Group by customer name.
Perfect. So here as we have first name and last name, we will have first name and last name, right? So we can use both the columns also whenever we are using group by. So I will directly write it as group by first name, comma, last name. Okay. We can even group based on this first name and last name. If we write like this only, 1 second. Okay, if we write like this only, maybe we will get unique, right? So if I only write first names, our first names can be same for two persons, like that. Correct?
Yeah. But this
First name,
question
last
doesn't
name.
make any sense.
Yes, that's what I said. This is not the exact question. Just to show you the joins, I should wrote like this. Basically, if this is the question, if this is the question, we can perform directly with the payment table only. No need of performing join. Correct? We will solve some more questions in the next class, but for now, as I remember only this customer and payment ID, we can even relate with some other tables also. Let's see that in the next class. But for now, just I wanted you to show how we will use joins along with the group by. That's the reason I performed this. But this question is, as you said, this is not making any sense. But if you want to perform the functions, if we want to perform the group by clause along with the joins, the sequence will be like this. First select, inside the select we will use aggregate, then only as it is we will use joins on. After performing the join only we will use group by clause. If we are going to use next, if we want to filter this data, we will use, instead of where, we will use having clause here. We are having, the next concept is having clause is nothing but it is same, something like the where clause only. Basically we will use where clause to filter the data in the row level. But if you want to filter the data depending upon the groups of the data, that is whenever we use group by clause, blindly you need to remember one thing. Whenever we use group by clause, if we want to write any conditions, we will use having clause. Okay, because where clause, what whenever I discussed about the where clause, I said it will go to the each and every row and it will check that condition. It works on the row level data only. Correct? Let's see, whenever next topic is having clause, let's see at that time. But in the next class, let's see some more examples on group by clause, and then let's discuss about having clause. Okay, I hope this is clear for you.
Yes, ma'am, your teaching is good. Awesome.
Thank you. All right, I'm ending the session for now. Let's meet on Monday's class. First, on Monday we will discuss about the joins examples, as you wish. If you want, I will discuss joins examples only, or else we will discuss that at the end of our session, complete course. It's up to you. Let's see on Monday. Okay.
Ma'am, we don't have Tableau class, right, today?
No, no, no. Tableau link will be changed. If you want to continue, please get
I'll
registered.
register. I'll register by today or
Yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No problem. Even you can register on Monday morning also. No issues. Just immediately, then you will receive the new link. You can attend from Monday. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys. Let's meet on Monday.
Thank you.